There's just a deep sense of frustration that could have been prevented and that it could have been any one of us.
Now on Fox 13 News at 9, after a home explosion in South Jordan took a 15-year-old boy's life, the first report comes out in the investigation. The questions neighbors still have.
It has been a week since a family-owned lumber yard in Camas caught fire.
Get it cleaned up so we can look at it and see if there's anything that's repairable.
Tonight, the family touching on the impact this has had on their business that's been around since the 1940s.
We're talking about why more people should get outside and use the city's infrastructure, like here at Liberty Park. We have the conversation coming up.
The future of the Rays in Tampa Bay could be in jeopardy. Does that mean the team could come to Utah? We'll tell you about the possibilities coming up.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Evans. We're learning a lot more tonight about that house explosion in South Jordan that left a 15-year-old boy dead earlier this month. The NTSB released a preliminary report today. It says natural gas company Enbridge found the leak about 150 feet behind the house that blew up. Tonight, neighbors have questions for the gas company.
One would have thought that Enbridge would have been out here knocking on doors and informing us. They've been in our yards putting sniffers into the soil, still finding gas apparently, but have shared no information with any of the neighbors. This event could have been my house as easily, or any of my neighbors' houses.
An Enbridge spokesperson says they are committed to contributing to the investigation. Now, this is just a preliminary investigation, so there's still a lot we don't know about what happened. Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gubi spoke with an expert about what these investigations typically entail and goes in depth tonight on the findings in this report.
Truly an unfortunate accident, a situation that came together, and now the key is to learn the lessons. That's how we honor the memory of the young man that died, is to learn the lessons so we don't have it happen again.
The NTSB's initial report about the tragic home explosion in South Jordan 2 weeks ago says the gas company found a leak in the pipeline about 150 feet northeast of the home. But the gas traveled from the main through the backyard and into the front yard of the home, which was about 250 feet from the leak.
I mean, we get people who hit gas lines all the time, do maintenance on gas lines, and from the initial report, it doesn't appear that that was the case. So an undetected leak doesn't happen very often.
According to the report, none of the 5 people in the home reported smelling gas before the explosion. Natural gas actually doesn't have a smell of its own, so it has a chemical mixed with it so people can smell it. Provo Fire Marshal Lynn Schofield, who is not part of this investigation, tells me that no one smelling it doesn't surprise him.
This was a leak that was under the ground, and so as that gas migrates away from the leak, the soil scrubs the mercaptan, and so you lose the odorant.
When we spoke to South Jordan City about a week after the incident, they said surrounding areas are safe now.
Our public safety teams, so our firefighters and our police, have done their due diligence, everything in their power. Those neighborhoods are safe. They've checked multiple homes around. Everything is good to go there.
The report also says the pipe Aldel A main was manufactured and installed in 1976. So if the pipe was defective, further investigations would show that.
There's something that we need to know about that particular type of pipe, where it has a lifespan that maybe we have to look at a little bit more closely.
But there are still more questions left to be answered until we know what exactly led to this heartbreaking death and explosion.
Investigations into these kinds of incidents really are a very detailed process. And sometimes the biggest thing we have to work with is we've got to have patience, because it takes a long time for this stuff to play out.
In Salt Lake City, I am Maithili Gubi, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Salt Lake police say gang detectives arrested a 16-year-old boy today accused of shooting another teen in the West High School parking lot. The investigation started when the victim showed up at the hospital the afternoon of November 7th. Police say no one reported the shooting when it happened a few hours earlier, and witnesses were not cooperative with investigators. The 16-year-old has been booked into the Salt Lake County Juvenile Detention Center. It has been a week since a lumber yard in Camas caught fire. Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold spoke with the family who owns it as they sift through what's left.
In the 40s, that's when they got started in the business.
John Blazard says his parents started the Blazard Lumber Company and moved to their current location in Camas in the 1950s.
I think they finally got the mill built and started production in like 55, 56.
A business that has provided lumber to communities across the United States for decades.
A lot goes to Phoenix area, toward Denver, Pennsylvania, Missouri. All of this lumber that you see out here was sawed last winter, and we put sticks between every layer so that it can dry and cure. And then we were in the process of firing up to mill it and finish it.
That all changed last week.
When I got down here, there was already one fire engineer, and the place was pretty well engulfed.
The South Summit Fire District says the call for the fire came in just after 10 o'clock last Wednesday night. When they got here, they found the fire burning inside the lumber milling operation. It took crews nearly 4 hours to get the flames under control.
We had a sash gang in here that was built in Germany. It was made by the Link company. Not very many of them. I think this might be the only one left running in the United States, and it's pretty well ruined.
The damage left behind to the mill is extensive.
We've got, so many other issues of all of the electrical components and wiring, and because basically that's all ruined.
Blazard told Fox 13 News they didn't have fire insurance for the mill.
Because fire insurance for sawmills is so expensive.
This incident forcing Blazard to send home recently hired employees who were tasked with getting the mill up and running for the season. It has left his business almost at a standstill.
We had several truck and trailer load orders on the hook that I had to call the customers and tell them we weren't going to be able to do it.
As they work to clean up damaged and charred equipment, Blazard says the outpouring of support from the community has been fantastic.
I've had people from here in Heber City call and say, I've got an excavation company business, or I've got concrete, you just call me and I'll come and I'll do it for you free of charge.
As he tries to figure out what comes next for his family's 80-year-old business.
I don't know where to go from here.
As for what caused this fire, the Utah Department of Public Safety tells me the incident is still under investigation at this time. Here in Camas, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The Great Salt Lake is shrinking again. It's dropped to its lowest level since 2021. The declines are attributed to water diversions, drought, and the impacts of climate change.
If we go back into drought across the basin, we could move back towards where we were in 2022. We bought ourselves a little time, but not as much as we had hoped.
The Great Salt Lake Commissioner's Office says lawmakers on Utah's Capitol Hill have passed a lot of policies designed to protect the lake, and they have secured some water. They say conservation will be important in the next years to come. Meantime, lawmakers heard a highly anticipated study on water and property taxes today. You pay a monthly water bill, but a large chunk of your water use is covered by property taxes. And some say you're not paying the true cost of water. Property taxes do pay for critical infrastructure needs, but some entities, such as churches and schools, don't pay any property tax. Lawmakers are questioning whether that needs to change.
There is a direct tie between pricing and conservation.
$60 billion over the next 30 years that we need to recognize is before us.
It's unlikely the property tax and water issue will be decided in the next legislative session. The committee chair says he plans to work on it over the next year.
Could Utah be the landing spot for the Tampa Bay Rays? That's the question many of us in the state are asking after the Major League Baseball team said that their planned new stadium is unlikely to be ready for the 2028 season, leaving their future in the area in jeopardy. The Rays reached a $1.3 billion stadium deal with St. Petersburg after the Pinellas County Commissioners approved funding for a new project this summer. But yesterday, the board voted to delay a decision on the public bonds needed to fund the stadium for a second time after they previously postponed the vote last month due to concerns over where the team will play in 2025 after Hurricane Milton destroyed the roof of Tropicana Field, pushing the board decision to December 17th. The Rays sent a letter to the county commissioner saying the team has already spent $50 million for early work on the new stadium, but cannot proceed forward because of delays from the board, which has led to significantly higher costs that the team is not able to absorb alone, leaving the future of the team on shaky ground.
I think the Rays strategy sucks, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it has for quite some time. They are horrible communicators, and I think they're the most politically tone-deaf organization I've ever met in my life.
This doesn't mean the Rays are headed to Utah, but just last night, the Salt Lake City Council heard from a public on the proposal to rezone about 93 acres in Salt Lake City for a new development by the Larry H. Miller Group, including a proposed Major League Baseball stadium. The Larry H. Miller Group did have talks with the Oakland Athletics earlier this year on having a temporary home in Utah before they reached a deal with Sacramento. And remember, the Utah Hockey Club deal happened pretty quickly after a stadium deal for the Arizona Coyotes fell through, and the NHL stepped in and reached out to Ryan Smith to bring the team to Utah. Just a few months ago, Southern Utah saw the return of the PGA Tour with the inaugural Black Desert Championship. Next year, it's the LPGA's turn. Their version of the Black Desert Championship will take place from May 1st through May 4th at Black Desert Resort. The tournament is one of two new additions on the 2025 LPGA Tour schedule. The last time Utah was host for an LPGA event was in 1964 for the Ladies Open at Riverside Country Club in Provo. That's sports. I'm Jeff Rainier.
Okay, well, I've got 9:13 and mostly cloudy and 38 degrees on my watch.
Are you trusting technology? Not the human element here?
It's nice to be able to go someplace, and if you're not around,
that's true.
You know, unless you want to just stay with me
I'm not
all the
as
time.
convenient, that is for sure, but more accurate, mind you.
Yes, I'm sure you are.
Well, those sports stories. Hey, Utah, the hub for professional sports. Speaking of golfing and putting those tee times in place, definitely a recommendation where we're heading, looking for the rest of the work week. Want to share, though, drone footage coming in from Scott Taylor, flying across the Great Salt Lake. Beautiful view right at sunset. And then as you look, and as we moved into the evening hours, we are looking at just a few high clouds, but today's temperatures actually getting above average. Highs officially in the 50s here for most locations across the Wasatch Front through southwestern Utah. 60s, though, in St. George. We only topped off at 40 degrees in Logan and low 40s in Vernal, as well as colder in Price. Now, currently, we're in the 20s, Vernal and Price, low 30s in Logan here along the Wasatch Front. Temperatures in the low 40s, as you can see, cooling off quickly, but not as cold as we saw last night. We have clouds in northern central, west central Utah. Of course, our focus still on this atmospheric river, pounding there across northern California with the rain and snow. On the move with this moisture, when does it hit the state and how does it impact your weekend? I'll answer that coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Brett. Coming up, an update on President-elect Trump's Attorney General pick, Matt Gaetz, and why the House Ethics Committee is deadlocked on whether to release its investigative report on his alleged misconduct. And the mother who confessed to killing her two young sons by driving them into a lake in the early 90s comes up for parole. What happened today in her hearing? Looks like the Matt Gaetz ethics report will not be released to the public, at least for now. Chair Michael Guest says there was no agreement by the committee today to release the report. You may remember Gaetz was under investigation for alleged sexual misconduct and illicit drug use. He is currently President-elect Donald Trump's nominee for U.S. Attorney General. Parole has been denied for Susan Smith. She is the South Carolina mother convicted of drowning her 2 young sons in the 1990s by strapping them into their car seats and driving them into a lake. Smith served 30 years of her life sentence. She first blamed the murders on a black carjacker who did not exist. The next time she'll be up for parole will be in 2 years. Lawsuits continue to pile up against Sean Diddy Combs. The now disgraced music mogul faces 5 new lawsuits. They include 3 from men who say they were drugged and sodomized, and 2 from women who say they were assaulted at ages 17 and 18. The latest filings brings the total number of lawsuits against Combs to more than 30. His attorneys deny all assault accusations against him. Friends, family, and fans said their final goodbyes to One Direction singer Liam Payne today in England. The 31-year-old singer died last month after falling from a hotel balcony in Argentina. An autopsy showed he had alcohol, cocaine, and antidepressants in his system. Here at home, more ski resorts are just a few days away from spinning their lifts for their respective opening days. Alta and Park City Mountain Resorts will open this Friday. Snowbird is scheduled to open on Thanksgiving Day. Snow Basin and Woodward Park City will open on Black Friday. Any question as to whether we'll have enough snow and they won't have to make snow, Brett?
Oh boy, a lot of these resorts, I should say, have been able to make the snow, of course, with some colder temperatures, but Mother Nature helping out this past week with a little bit of snow and more to come, as we're going to be pumping in some moisture here and a storm for the weekend. Right now, we're just seeing a few high clouds, northern, west central, southwestern Utah, getting pushed ahead of this storm system, which has been the focus here over the past couple of days. You have this atmospheric river. You've been talking about this bomb cyclone just spinning that low pressure with some strong winds, as the precipitation heavy with concerns of flooding and mudslides and a lot of snow. Now looking ahead, where areas such as Redding, California, already picking up 2.5 to almost 3 inches. We're going to be adding on to that going through tomorrow, Thursday, Friday into Saturday. Could see another 7 inches, not only with a lot of heavy rain, we're talking mountain snow, and forecast models showing, we're talking feet in some areas, potentially upwards of 2 feet as you look for the Sierra Nevadas. Now this moisture making its move, it's not going to stay as well organized. It fizzles out just a little bit, but we're definitely going to be getting hit and having a few days with some wet weather, especially as we look towards next week. Now for today, we got to 54 degrees, so temperatures returning to above average as we should be in the upper 40s. And it looks like the thermometer only looks to climb here for the rest of the work week. Right now, though, we're at 31 degrees in Logan, 40s in Salt Lake City. Cold in Price, northeastern Utah. You kind of got a little bit of trap there of some cold air. High pressure, though, will allow temperatures statewide to be on the rise, as mentioned, as high pressure will be in place for tomorrow through Friday. We get the flow out of the southwest as we wait for the arrival of this storm system, where it weakens just a bit, but it will bring in some moisture out of the west. So as we get the precipitation, it's not going to be a cold storm. As it does make its move, we're going to see a chance of some showers, mainly a mixture of rain and snow for the valleys, and definitely several inches for the mountains. Now for tonight, we're not even thinking about the storms. We're going to be looking at partly cloudy skies here across northern Utah, clear across the south. Temperatures not as cold as we saw last night, and again, we're going to be a little bit warmer come tomorrow. Temperatures in the upper 50s here along the Wasatch Front, low 50s in Logan, still 40s though towards northeastern Utah. We'll say mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies here across the north, clear across the south as temperatures for many spots, especially southwestern Utah, in the low 60s. That's the story for St. George. 60s up through Saturday. Then with this storm, looks like late Sunday some rain into Monday as well as Tuesday. So this next storm system pumps in the moisture and brings statewide precipitation here, especially as we look towards Monday and Tuesday. Now for the Wasatch Front, we get the 60s, but then some winds on Saturday. We'll put off the rain showers until late afternoon through the evening. It's rain initially, then a mixture of rain and snow on Sunday. Morning snow turning back into the rain Monday, and then more showers Tuesday and Wednesday. Yes, there'll be periods that we see the snow and potentially could accumulate, but for the mountains, we're going to get several inches, and models showing maybe upwards of 1.5 to 2 feet in some areas. So here we go with this storm. Enjoy these nice temperatures here for the next couple of days. We're back after the break.
Two inmates in 2 weeks attempted suicide at Utah's new prison in Salt Lake City. The inmates' families say their loved ones did not receive the help they asked for. Tyson Levy died in the prison October 30th, and on October 11th, Michael Bueno attempted suicide. That's him right there. He's now on life support. The family's complaints echo findings auditors made in 2021 and again in 2023, saying inmates' requests for care would often go ignored.
His girlfriend was telling us that he was talking about killing himself, and I knew something was wrong, and so I called the prison.
So he kept asking everybody that he could think of for help. Finally, he went in and saw the doctor. The doctor said he had to stop because he was harassing everybody.
If loved ones call, and we do this often, during a visit, parent comes in and says, that didn't go well, could someone check on my son? Absolutely, we'll go do that.
Weisner says the 2 suicide attempts are already under review. If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide, call 988 to speak to a crisis worker 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Today, a judge ruled in favor of Moab police in a lawsuit brought by Gabby Petito's family. She was murdered by her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, in Wyoming in August of 2021. 2 weeks earlier, the couple was involved in a domestic violence incident to which Moab police responded but did not arrest either of them, contrary to state law and department policy. Petito's family filed a $50 million lawsuit contending the police did not investigate thoroughly enough to determine whether Petito's life was in danger. Today, Judge Don Torgerson ruled Moab police could not be held liable due to the Government Immunity Act of Utah, which protects police officers from liability. The family plans to appeal.
I do think that plaintiffs have made a prima facie case that Moab's officers' conduct here could have been a cause of death, not necessarily the cause of death, but a cause of death. And based on the pleadings and making every inference in favor of plaintiffs, the court is going to deny the motion to dismiss on causation grounds because that's a factually intensive question.
The Petito family released the following statement. While the ruling today may feel like a setback, it was not unexpected. We never anticipated that this would be an easy process and look forward to the Utah Supreme Court upholding the Utah Constitution's original intent to preserve the right to recover for wrongful death claims under these circumstances. We remain committed to pursuing justice for Gabby and thank the many people who have continued to support us in that fight. Coming up, I'll introduce you to a man who has given a lot of thought to how to keep wrong-way drivers from entering the freeway. Hear him pitch his idea to UDOT's John Gleason. Each time Fox 13 News does a Driven to Change story, we invite you to send us your ideas for making our roads safer. Well, tonight we're looking at one of those suggestions from a man who had an idea about saving lives. Kaysville police officer Kalawe de los Santos stopping a wrong-way driver on I-15.
I basically treated this as like a shooting situation. I knew innocent lives are at risk.
Last year, 6 people died in wrong-way crashes in Utah.
We just want to save lives.
That struck James Giacomo of Salt Lake. So he wrote to me and laid out his idea. He said, I gave a lot of thought to this and I believe it could help save lives. He then goes on to explain a system that would detect wrong-way drivers onto freeway off-ramps and shine a bright light into the driver's eyes that would get their attention and get them to turn around. Turns out UDOT has been doing something similar.
In fact, I think great minds think alike.
We got UDOT's John Gleason and James Giacomo together at the freeway on and off ramps at 21st South and 4th West in South Salt Lake.
Once it was activated, bright lights right into the windshield to try to be a deterrent from getting the car all the way onto the main interstate, and then about another 50 feet away, have a backup because you never know what drivers are going to do.
James got to explain his plan to John, and as it turns out,
Our engineers in the last year or so have been putting in these wrong way driving detection systems that not necessarily do they flash a light at the driver, but they light up the wrong way sign with LED lights on the outside of it. And so it's a relatively very new thing that we've been doing here. But it's that same concept of giving that instant feedback to the drivers as they're approaching the ramps that are going the wrong way. We want to make sure that they don't get out into the mainline traffic. As we get more funding and we determine that this system works, we're going to continue to expand that across the state.
Good. That's good news.
Yeah.
John, it's been a pleasure to know you.
James, thank you so much.
Now, deterring wrong-way driving is an urgent matter. If you have an idea for making Utah's roads safer, send us an email at news@fox13now.com. It just might get UDOT's attention, all in the name of saving lives. Two groups in Salt Lake City are encouraging people to get outside and onto bikes. But they believe the #1 reason people don't ride is because of safety concerns. Fox 13 News reporter Avery Klanowski tells us how the city is actively working to make roads better for everyone.
I don't think the onus falls on the drivers. I think the onus falls on the infrastructure.
Salt Lake City is well known for its outdoor recreating. People are also reminding others to use the city's infrastructure.
Fortunate to have bike paths like the 9 line or the S line. We do have quite a few bike lanes, so we take advantage of what we do have.
Unplugged Wellness and Salt Lake City Fixed are encouraging others to start cycling.
Bikes help us connect to place, connect with our community, and they're fun.
But they know safety is a great concern.
There are some streets that are very dangerous. The cars drive fast or the bike lane just disappears.
Salt Lake City Council is working to enhance protection so people are more comfortable on foot or biking throughout the city.
We need a lot of improvement in that area. We've had fatalities in pedestrians and cyclist fatalities over the years, and we want to eliminate those.
When you're 3 feet from a car, it actually is really scary. So bike-specific infrastructure.
Advocating for those who love to be outside.
Pedestrians and cyclists are often the minority, and the cars get the larger stage. So when I hear that we have somebody, speaking for us, that is amazing.
We're working with the residents and the Department of Transportation to calm the traffic down in bolt outs. So you bump it out so the street is narrow at a crosswalk going into a school.
Avid Salt Lake City cyclists also have suggestions.
Wider bike lanes, lining the bike lanes with bollards, even painting the bike lanes gives a visual barrier.
Both bike advocacy groups ride as school fish to increase safety. They say it comes down to the groundwork.
So have protection for the pedestrians and the cyclists, and have the designated areas for the cars to drive separate.
Grateful to be able to ride around the city and for their commitment to making roads safer for everyone.
Let's get more butts on bikes.
In Salt Lake City, Avery Klanowski, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The Fox 13 News Good Day Utah team has launched a new Cone Zone segment. That's where we talk about all of the major construction concerns raised by you, our viewers, and get you some answers. Our first Cone Zone report focuses on 2100 South in Sugar House. If you've driven by this area lately, you know how much of a headache this can be. While construction is ahead of schedule, there's still a year to go until it's all done. To help businesses and customers during shopping season, there will be a holiday moratorium on the construction. Now, if you have a construction question, Utah Driven to Change, tip, story, or solution to some of the issues you see on Utah roads, you can be like James Giacomo and scan the QR code on your screen right now to get to our website where you can fill out a form and send us your ideas. Coming up, it's the last interim day before next year's legislative session on Utah's Capitol Hill. Plenty of big topics discussed today, from Rocky Mountain Power's rate hike to voter accessibility to keeping children focused in the classroom. A full recap just ahead. We have an update on a story Fox 13 News first reported back in September. The Utah legislature appears to be moving forward with plans to break up PacifiCorp. The head of Rocky Mountain Power appeared before the legislature's Public Utilities Committee today to answer for a proposed 18% rate hike and other environmental policies in other states. It led to some tense moments. Take a look at this.
These are some of the things that frustrate us as legislators when the consumers who pay the monthly bills see that the gas bill's going down 30 to 40% and the electric rates are going up 30%. That's hard to swallow.
I get that people are frustrated. I get that the legislature is frustrated. I get that customers are frustrated. I am frustrated. But right now, in this, the way the structure is, I still have to, what's in my gift today is to provide the service, keep the investor engaged, stay reliable, keep it affordable as possible, and then fight 6 state commissions and the federal government to make sure that I have the money to keep the utility financially stable and healthy, so we can keep going with the model that's brought us this far. And there are significant challenges at today and the frustration. You covered a lot of ground there. I'm not gonna, we can respectfully agree to disagree about some of that.
Any legislation to force a breakup of PacifiCorp would be considered when Utah lawmakers meet in January. A bill addressing issues with postmarked ballots and drop box accessibility failed to pass the Government Operations Interim Committee today. Provo Representative Norm Thurston's bill would have aligned with a Fifth Circuit Court ruling that ballots received after Election Day cannot be counted regardless of the postmark. It also would have mandated that 95% of a county's population must live within a 1-hour drive of a drop box. The bill faced opposition due to concerns about voter suppression and accessibility, particularly in rural areas. At the State Capitol Rotunda today, the Policy Project held a rally to raise awareness and support for the Focused Student Project, a two-pronged effort to help students focus at school by limiting phone use in classrooms and combating student hunger.
Hungry children can't learn. Students are in the classroom. Students are working on gaining that knowledge, getting an education. We want to make sure that it's all not in vain.
We also know that kids, especially from that are living in poverty, their test scores go up by 15% when they don't have cell phones with them. So just the removal of cell phones makes a huge difference in those lives.
The Policy Project plans to back 2 bills focused on both causes during the upcoming legislative session. Breck?
Well, Bob, this is a traffic camera, not here in the state of Utah, but we're seeing a mixture of rain and snow. El Dorado Freeway coming out of Sacramento. This was what's moving our way. When does it get here? I'll let you know after the break.
And later in sports, it's time for State Championship Thursday up on the hill. We'll check in on one of those teams involved, a school gunning for their first state championship in their century-plus long history. Back in a bit.
We are a little more than a week away from Utah Symphony's annual Messiah Sing-In.
Get thee up into the high moor.
Thousands of people bring their scores to Abravanel Hall and sing along with a choir and orchestra. Sarah Schofield is one of 4 soloists who will perform for the first time in the Messiah Sing-In this year.
Sung it as a chorus member, and so to finally be the person who is singing these solos that I have loved for a very long time, but then also to be a part of something that's so much bigger, it's just so wonderful and so special.
The Messiah Sing-In runs from November 30th to December 1st at Abravanel Hall in downtown Salt Lake. Make sure to bring your scores. I got to tell you, Brooke, I grew up every year playing in the orchestra that played the Messiah or singing in the chorus, and so I know that score inside out, upside down, and backwards.
A great holiday tradition, right?
Hey, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It is wonderful.
Yeah.
Gives you goosebumps is what it does.
Well, trying to set the mood, I should say, getting ready for the season, of course. What would help out was getting a little bit of snow, which is a definite possibility and a high likelihood here across the state moving into the weekend, where precipitation outlook next 4 to 5 days. Yes, we're going to continue to see that heavy rainfall across portions of northern through central California, through Oregon, and a lot of snow. But as you can see, through day 4 and 5, we're going to start getting in the mix here across the state, where this storm system, as it's bringing that atmospheric river there through portions of California and Oregon, it's making its move here. Now, it's definitely leaving a heavy mark here through portions of Northern California, where specifically we look at Redding, California, where up to this point they've almost picked up 3 inches of rain. Now, the total forecast is for over 10 inches, where for the month of November, on average in this area, they get over 4.5 inches, so doubling up with this one storm, where you look at the total annual amount of precipitation for that area, it's just about 40 inches. So 25% of their annual precipitation coming this week. Of course, as we look at in comparison to Utah, where our total for the water year precipitation is just over 15 inches. So impressive amounts. It is going to pose all kinds of problems, of course, with traveling, with flooding and mudslides as well. But when it reaches the state, we're not going to see that big concern, but we are expecting to see several inches up the mountains. So this is good news for the ski resorts as we look ahead. Now, it's going to be coming in from the west, so it's not going to be the light, fluffy snow. It's definitely going to be packing some water. Now, temperatures not as cold here for tonight. We have some clouds in place, northern, west central, southwestern Utah. Not seeing any activity from radar. These are high-level clouds where you're seeing the action, of course, as you can see currently through San Francisco up into Oregon. We're seeing that impact of that bomb cyclone. Now, models showing it continues on tomorrow into Friday. Saturday finally making its move towards the state. It gets here late Saturday into Sunday, where initially we're going to see some rain and then a mixture of rain and snow as we track through Sunday into Sunday afternoon. Now, late Sunday into Monday, we start to see southern Utah getting in the mix with this storm as it will continue on. And Tuesday, it's widespread precipitation across the state. As you can see, you've got the green and the blue. That's why we're saying a mixture of rain and snow for the valleys. Now, for Salt Lake City tonight, we're down into the mid-30s, not as cold tomorrow. Warmer ahead of that storm system. We're going to see more of a southwest flow that allows temperatures to be in the upper 50s, close to 60 degrees as we look towards west central Utah, and low 60s in St. George, where for St. George for the weekend, we'll see that chance of rain late Sunday into Monday, more rain showers on Tuesday, and cooler temperatures into next week. Northern Utah will start with rain briefly, mixture of rain and snow on Sunday, dropping those temperatures back into the 40s. And again, we'll be looking at several inches for the mountains. So enjoy these nice warm temperatures for the next couple of days.
The last 3 state football finals take place tomorrow at the U, including what could possibly be a long time coming for Spanish Fork. The Dons, whom I caught up with tonight 24 hours prior to kickoff, taking on Crimson Cliffs for the 4A final. It is no secret that Spanish Fork is a baseball softball town with 17 different state titles on the diamond. But for a high school that dates back to 1912, never before have they gotten it done on the gridiron. Any theories as to why that is?
Good question. I wish I knew. Football has never really been as much a priority, and because of that, you know, sometimes we don't get kids really working on football until you get to the summer, where they'll be working on baseball all fall, all through the winter. But we've been changing that.
Head coach Dustin Smith, in place for 5 seasons now, has been waiting long and hard to coach this group of seniors, of which he started back when they were 9.
I knew right then that they were a pretty special group.
Headlined by his son, McKay, at quarterback and Caden Vest behind him in the backfield, the playmaking pair has combined for 54 touchdowns and over 4,300 yards of offense this season.
Set some records offensively at the school, but I knew we were going to have a pretty good offense. The defense is where I wasn't quite as certain, and they've really played well.
Of which you need both to clear the state tournament field. The Dons, who upset Olympus on the road back in August to begin the season, have continued to roll. Headlined by a win over top-seeded Ridgeline last week in the semis.
We played a really hard schedule. Our preseason was 3 very good teams. 2 5A schools who made it to the quarterfinals and a 4A school who made it to the semifinals in Skyview. So I was pleased, but I wasn't shocked that we beat them.
Which means here we go, a chance to put that first ever trophy in the school's case.
We'll have alumni going back, years and years and years that'll be at the game. Kids that I've coached and kids that, have played here 10, 20, 30 years ago that are now adults that are pulling for the guys that'll be there. Win or lose, it's a pretty cool experience.
Their opponent, Crimson Cliffs, a school 106 years younger that already has 1 state title to their name.
We actually played them 3 years ago and 2 years ago, and they beat us both times. So what I know of them is that they're really good.
Yeah, that one will be joined by Roy and Bountiful to get it all started in the morning. Corner Canyon and Lone Peak for the 6A crown after that from Rice-Eccles Stadium. And lastly, the Salt Lake City Stars hosting Portland's G League affiliate Rip City tonight, where Isaiah Wong went for 41 points. Nice baseline take for the second-year pro in the third. Salt Lake steals and dunks. The story from there, Tavion Kinsey finishing right there, and here as well. He'll be the one to poke it away this time as the Stars take it 129-119 for their second dub in a row after dropping their first 3. The Jazz back in action tomorrow at San Antonio.
I gotta imagine that teams like the Stars have been outshined by Utah Hockey Club,
Sure.
the Jazz.
They got a lot of competition.
Yeah, my goodness.
We're growing
gracious.
here, Bob.
Plenty of opportunities to watch professional sports here in Utah. So support all of the teams. We'll be right back. At the Delta Center last week, there was a moment a family from the city of Roy will never forget. Take a look at this. Brian and Shannon Seward took their son Mario to his first NBA game to celebrate his 16th birthday. The Utah Jazz were playing Mario's favorite team, the Phoenix Suns, who arranged for Mario to get to the floor for the pregame shoot-around. What Mario and his parents didn't know is that Mario, who battles cerebral palsy and is the lone survivor of triplets who were born prematurely, would also get to meet his basketball idol, Suns guard Devin Booker.
He said, "Hey, what's up, Mario?" And then I was like, "Oh my God, Devin Booker, no way, dude." Yeah. And he goes, "You want me to sign that for you?" And then my mom goes, "Yes. Yes, can you please sign it?"
Oh yeah, somebody pinch him. Mario had his jersey signed by Booker, who also posed for photos, as you can see. A big hug from the big guy. Family says he couldn't have been more kind and gracious. Mom and Dad say Mario wants to become an NBA broadcaster one day.
The next Marv Albert.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
so.
maybe you could give him a few tips. Yeah. Anyway, what a great story. Way to go, Devin, and congratulations, Mario. Thanks for watching Fox 13 News at 9. Quick Cast up next.